We're here to talk about 0 to 60 and beyond. Tony's book, not your only book, but you're a multiple author now. What I love about this one is why. Why did you write this book, Tony?
So, the first book, which is a shortened version of that one, the first book was written because, if we go back in history, my grandfather was Irish, and he was in the IRA, which is the Irish Republican Army that fought against the English for independence. Basically, it was religion. It was Catholic against Protestant, and it still goes on to this day in a minor way. Anyway, he was involved in there, and he was probably up the top somewhere, but kind of secretive. And when he died, we only knew some of his stories, just few stories. He didn't talk about it, didn't boast, didn't do anything. So when he died, we didn't know anything really about his life. And I claimed to myself that I would not do that. And I think that everybody needs to write their story. It doesn't need to be a book, but write their story. And so I decided that I would consciously go and record my life so far. And a journalist, freelance journalist from Red Bull magazine did an article about me. And it was such a good article that I asked him if he would consider helping me write my story. And he said, well, I've never done that before, but we'll give it a crack. And it took 18 months, but halfway through the story, he said, mate, this is an incredible story. Do you mind if I share it with Penguin? And I said, well, it's not meant to be a book, but whatever. And Penguin said, yeah, we'll print it. And it became the bestseller in New Zealand, non-fiction. And then we reprinted it 5 times because it was so popular. And on the 6th time to reprint, which is like 8 years later, I said, no, I don't want to do that because there's so much has happened in between. Yeah. Let's put out a limited edition. And so we took out this new book, which is 10 new chapters, because I wanted to help explain, mainly to young people, how I've done it in my life. I mean, I started with nothing. I lived in a gypsy caravan in Scotland for the first 14 years of my life. And so I could easily claim that I did it really tough, but it wasn't. It was all right. It wasn't no hardship, really. We were not rich by any stretch. We were poor, but it wasn't a bad life. So I'm not leaning on, oh, woe is me, you know. The second book came out, and it immediately went to #1 bestseller outright, which was, you know, when I think back about the journey, the book journey that started off just as a record of my life, it's become now 2 bestsellers, and so just on the first book, there was 7 drafts, and I don't read books.
Hold on.
No, I don't read books.
You don't read books?
No.
But we should read books.
No, but I don't read books, but they said we're not going to print it because there was an argument about swear words and stuff like that, and they wanted to take out all the swear words, and I said, don't even bother printing it because I'm not interested, because that's what I am, that's me. Anyway, they said, we'll print it if you read it and sign it off. And so they gave me this 2 inches thick of A4 paper, and I said, God. And I was on a flight, I boarded a flight to Los Angeles once, and I took this with me. And I started reading it, right? Because I thought I'd better do it, because that's it. And I didn't put it down. I read the whole thing in the 12-hour flight. And the strangest thing is that I knew what the ending was. I knew the story.
Were you still surprised, though?
No, I just, to be fair, I thought it was a really good record of what I'd done. So I was really pleased with it. And I say to everybody, it doesn't matter what kind of life you've had. Right, it doesn't matter. Write your story down. People used to write diaries, and nowadays they say, oh, but there's Instagram and Facebook and That everybody's happy on there. That's not real life. Write your story down, because guess what? You can work hard all your life. You can become a multi-billionaire, millionaire, whatever. You can have a house, a business, a farm. Leave it to your family, because that's what most people do. Within 2 years, sometimes, your family, brothers won't talk to sisters, sisters won't talk to cousins, because there's been an argument about what's been left. My suggestion is to you, leave them fuck all like that, and leave them your story, because the thing I've found is that my children do not even read the book. They don't even care for it, because they've known the story. My grandchildren, they're sort of half lukewarm. Oh yeah, we've heard some of that. It's not about them. It's not for them. It's for the people that haven't even been born yet. The people in 50 years' time that start wondering, why did Popeye, they call me Popeye, why did Popeye, do that? And it's in the book.
And I think that's something, obviously, right now we're surrounded by legacy, aren't we? The Adelaide Motorsport Festival is a moving museum of motorsport history. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's about leaving your legacy, but also allowing your family to learn from that, and even your future generations to feel like they know Popeye, which is really, really lovely. But also, as you are very passionate about helping young people to prosper, helping young people to develop, whether it's inside or outside of a race car. And this is just another way that you're doing that, TQ.
Yeah, there's a chapter in there called, it's called Pink Fairy Dust, because that's what people think I have. They think that I just go somewhere and sprinkle some fairy dust on things and it all becomes good. It's called the Midas touch, whatever you want to call it. There is no such thing. It's all down to hard work for a long time. And in the book, chapter 37, I explain particularly to young people what you have to do to be whatever success rate you want to be at. If you want to be at the very top, I don't know how to be like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or those guys. That's not me. But if you want to live a good life, an honest life, not go to prison, employ a heap of people and pay their mortgages for them and give them a job. That's what I've done, and I explain how that can be done. And it's a really good read. So what I say to young people is read chapter 7, read the whole book, but read chapter 7 once, and then read it again, and then follow the rules.
I actually really love some of the chapter names. Chapter 13 is called I Don't Want to Fight You. That one's quite good. There's one that's called I Don't Give a Shite. That one's pretty good too. You came up with all of these, didn't you? Oh, here we go. Time to Put Up or Shut Up. That's chapter 25. I reckon that was my 25th year on this planet. Lockdown life, you also cover that as well. What was Tony Quinn like in lockdown, Kate? Great or not so great?
Yes, he was fantastic.
His partner Kate, I felt for you in lockdown. Oh, my goodness.
Well, lockdown for everybody. Like, nobody knew what was that. Nobody saw it coming, and nobody knew what to do. And I genuinely think, for once in their lives, I think the government did a good job of dealing with that. I would never have given people money to go and spend and, get the homeless off the streets, and I would never have done that. But the government chose to do it, and it seemed to work out quite well. It went on for a while, but I think it was the best way to do it.
What is that? Chapter 21. What does that say, Tony?
Well, it says cocaine for cats, because people that make pet food, right? Making dog food is quite, I'm not going to say easy, but it's quite doable, right? It's not a bad challenge. But to feed cats is a real challenge. It really is. And so in the pet food world, and I think in my prime, we were 15th in the world as a pet food manufacturer. If you can make a good cat food, then you are held in high esteem in the industry. Yeah.
I see Whiskers in a whole different way now.
Well, Whiskers, they have 200 people in white coats testing.
Wow.
Chemists, yeah.
Wow.
Food nutritionists, yeah. It's a serious business because if you actually analyze cat food, it's horrendously expensive. And people are paying whatever price it is for their cat. And so if you can make a good cat food, you've scored.
I told you this chat could go anywhere. That's not. I still didn't expect that. Which is wonderful.
We didn't have cocaine for cats, but it was just a terminology that we used.
Yeah. Instead of saying catnip.
Yeah.
Instead of saying catnip. So let's talk about business because, of course, we know you as a successful businessman. You own 2 racetracks. You, of course, invest 4 racetracks. Beg your pardon.
So 3 in New Zealand.
3 in New Zealand.
And Queensland Raceway.
Of course, beg your pardon. Very, very true. And of course, part owner, I didn't do my research, didn't read the book. You've also, Triple Eight Race Engineering, big part of that team as well. What do you want to say about business in motorsport?
Well, I said it last night. I said the secret for business in motorsport is to keep doing it for a long time. It's a long game because it helps you forget how much money you've invested in it. That's the real trick. But Triple Eight has been a real joy, and we've worked quite hard as a team, and the board is a very, very strong board. And we've, obviously everybody's heard about the Ford deal.
Yep.
That just had to be done, people. I mean, GM were sleeping, they were complacent, they didn't really have a plan. We asked them, what's the plan? You're going into Formula One, what can we expect, And they said, well, nothing really, we've got nothing.
Wow.
And we can't run our business with a plan that says nothing. So we compared the market, and we looked at several brands and stuff, but we couldn't believe the reception that we got at Ford. Ford America, US, were absolutely delighted to talk to us. And it started in Bathurst last year, and it took all the way to January to announce. But I can promise that there's some really good things for Triple Eight to happen in the coming years.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic operation. Everyone is so dedicated to the 1%ers there, even if you're not in the race team, even if you're on the manufacturing side as well. But also diversification. That's something that I would say I would learn from you just off the bat in business, because that's what you've done. You've diversified all the way along. Is that one of the keys you would say to success?
Yeah, I think you can diversify into anything you choose, but what you have to do is keep the same recipe, right? So if you've got a recipe for success, you don't want to change that.
Yep.
So you just change the business, the product, the customers, whatever, but you keep the same philosophy of, surrounding yourself with good people, good staff. Customers that pay are very important, and just delivering what you promise. And if you deliver what you promise, that builds a successful business.
So you and Roland Dane, obviously you're good mates, as well as you've had businesses together. Do you guys have who's...
He's trying to steal some of our staff at the moment, so
is he?
I don't know if he's a good mate.
Oh, I'll have a word. Do you guys have a bit of a who's the better businessman off? Do you guys rate each other and go, I've done better business than you today, mate? Oh, I did better this year.
No, he usually just gets down on his knees and bows. So I kind of know.
Should.
I kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, taught him everything he knows, right?
No, Roland's a tough master. Rules with an iron fist, all of those things, but has huge respect. But we're sort of entering in. He's a GM kind of guy, and so he's trying to help GM. And there's ways to help people without stealing.
Yeah.
And we're going to have words, I'm sure. But yeah, there's just the whole thing's unfolding. I mean, basically what happened was that GM were sleeping. They were caught napping. They just were very complacent. And of course, when they had to break the news to the Americans said, what the hell have you been doing?
Right.
So I think there's a wee bit of trouble in the camp. A little bit.
Right.
But to be fair, we are committed to the GM program for the rest of this year.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to do that for sure. We're going to see that out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your own racing as well. We've known that you've can we please? I love you as a race car driver. I think that you're thrilling to watch. Obviously, you've had some big crashes in your time as well, but you've come back, come fighting. You still want to go racing. It's in your blood, isn't it? It's something that you'll always do as long as you can.
Yeah, I think if you challenge yourself, I think jumping in a race car is a whole lot easier than jumping on the back of a horse.
Oh, yes.
Like, I think horses are so dangerous, like, I can't deal with it. But I don't race anymore. I'm sure you've all noticed that. I don't really race. I just go round and round. And, you know, all my buddies are here. And, you know, I've got a reasonably good reputation amongst them. And so I enjoy the weekends away, yeah.
Yeah, good. But what is next for you?
We want to do the Pan-American Highway. I spoke yesterday to Stefan Johansson.
Yes. Yep.
And he's done it a couple of times. I'd like to go to Alaska, buy a F-150 or whatever, drive down to Canada, cross to New York, cross to LA, down through Mexico, end up in Argentina sometime. And yeah, I hope I'm brave enough to do that. That's one of the things that we want to do. I'm still involved in businesses. Currently, we're in the middle of selling 2 good businesses. And I said to Rex, my GM, at Christmas time, we had lunch, and I said, mate, I reckon that I've got one more. I call them bank robberies. So I buy a business, do it up, make it good, apply the philosophies, and sell it for 5 times the amount, or whatever it is. And I've been doing that for a while, and I'm good at it. So I reckon I've got one more left in me. I don't know what it is, but maybe this year we'll find something.
Okay. Well, if you want to let me know what it is when you work it out, TQ, I'm sure I'd like to be involved if I can.
Well, that's you know, you talk about what's the secret to success. You know, I've had the same team with me for probably 15 years, 20 years.
Yep.
And they all benefit from, you know, the business that I do.
Yes, yeah.
They're all involved and they all get a fair share when we have a sale. So that buys huge loyalty. And so that's one of the other secrets. But it's all in the book, people.
So
for $39.95, you can read all about it.
It's right over there. He takes all means of currency, of course. And I just want to say that your favourite number, found this out from Kate, 101.
Yeah.
How much does the book weigh, TQ?
I know, 101 grams. True story.
How good's
Spooky.
Yeah, you can work out with it and read. It's quite good. I just want to say...
If I live till I'm 101, I'm going to not get to 102. I'm just going to have to switch the lights out.
That's it, I've reached it. Please don't. We want you to stay there as long as possible. And that's why I'm just going to quickly say that if you do that trip in the F-150 and you go to Mexico, leave the cocaine for cats at home. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Don't risk it for the biscuit. Ladies and gentlemen, he will be here for a signing session as well. You can purchase the book right here. It is well worth a read. Just even flicking through it, I'm definitely going to buy a copy. So please put your hands together one more time for the one and only Tony Quinn. Thank you, sir.
Well done, Charlie.